How do we judge if something's moral or immoral, right or wrong? Is it based on what the majority of society believes? Is it based on what our society today deems acceptable or unacceptable? Does our understanding of morality evolve with time? Or do we have a fixed moral compass with consistent standards and principles? In order to understand these questions, we need to go over a couple of points. Let's understand the limitations of human beings and creation. We have limited knowledge and experience, and even if we dedicate our entire lives to studying, it'll be impossible to know everything. We are imperfect and we are forgetful. We are tempted to act in our self-interest and desires, and when our interests are at odds with each other, we clash. Speaking of clashing, our ideas of morality and right and wrong are constantly changing throughout time. What society thinks is good or moral today doesn't even match what it did 10 years ago. Morality changes with time and differs from place to place, country to country. Just look at recent rulings on marijuana, how it's becoming legal in the States, or how gay marriage is now acceptable when it wasn't even 20 years ago. And historically, prohibition of alcohol in the 1920s, which was later repealed because of protests against it, or slavery, which was once legal, or even Manifest Destiny, where Native Americans were pushed out of their homes in order to expand the U.S. Who has the right to say that their subjective view on morality is better than anyone else's? What makes one time and place better suited to give answers on morality than another? Would those who support gay marriage today condone incest or bestiality tomorrow if it becomes the norm in society? If change happens with the times, then the answer is yes. Looking at the points we discussed, you have to admit that humans can only come up with subjective morality. So is it possible to even have objective morality and truth? The only way that objective truth or morality can be known is from that which is objective and true. What do I mean by this? Those with limitations or perfections cannot claim to know objectively what is right and wrong. Humans are beings with limitations and perfections. Humans can only come up with subjective understandings of truth and morality. The Creator is free from imperfections and limitations of human beings. Therefore, objective truth can only come from the Creator. Addressing contentions and counter-arguments. The first counter-argument is, we don't need a Creator to tell us what's right or wrong, because we know things like stealing and murder are wrong. The truth is that leading nations in the world commit theft and murder all the time to secure their interests when it's in their benefit. From their perspective, stealing and murder are justified for higher aims of progress and benefit at the expense of others. For example, Manifest Destiny in the US justified wiping out entire Native American populations in the US for the sake of expansion and implementing their version of right and wrong. And in countries abroad, nations have justified colonizations of weaker countries. Counter-argument number 2. As long as we're not hurting anyone else, what's the big deal? Things like gay marriage is harmless. That's not true for things like incest or bestiality where others are harmed. If incest is done consensually with contraception and no possibility of birth defects, then by today's societal standards, there is no harm. If bestiality is conducted without harming the animal, then by today's standards, there's no harm. Therefore, if accepting subjective morality or standards of the time, if one is consistent, then they will have to be okay with the above and more. Conclusion: you need to believe in a Creator, a God to arrive at objective conclusions on morality, and furthermore, guidelines and instructions on how to live our lives. In the absence of the Creator, society is subject to subjective morality and constant decline. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. We have certainly created man in the best of stature. Then we return him to the lowest of the low, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds, for they will have a reward uninterrupted. For proof on existence of the Creator and the truth of Islam, check out our other video.